Okay, midnights. That's what we're doing. First things first, it's my right hand pinky. We are doing Mood Ring, which is this like glassy cobalt blue, and it's so nice and like pigmented. It was just perfect. So I cured one layer of it. Then I wanted a little bit of glitter action just like to layer it. So I took Intergalactic, which you can see is pretty opaque black, but I just did like a tiny little brush stroke of it, just to kind of make sure the blue shows through but gives a little bit of shimmer to the background. And then once I was satisfied with that little base layer of shimmer, sorry, this is gonna be an annoying video, I cured it. Then once I cured it, I wanted to take my clear glitter Enigma, and it's so cute because it's like kind of chunky but not like obnoxiously chunky, and it's holographic, and it looked so good layered on top of this. So it was like, look at that. It's so perfect. It's like coming together so nicely. But then here is where I hit my downfall. I made a couple mistakes on this nail, but it was the first one, okay? We had 9 left to go. I had a business to run here. So I used these stencils because stars are like annoying for me. And I was like, whatever, I have these. But the problem is they're for airbrush. And you know who doesn't do airbrush? Me. And I was like, let me just use it for gel. But the stencils are really thick, and also they were popping up because I was just like, whatever, it's fine, everything's fine. And my brush kind of went underneath the stencil and just made the outline of the stars just not cute. But I wasn't stressed because I was like, you know what, it's a dark enough nail that I can just take more of the Intergalactic and just kind of hide the overflowing areas and like paint over it, and it's fine. It's just the pinky. We're just getting started. It's fine. And then I just took the white again and just kind of did a second layer of the white, a second coat of the white on top of the stars to make it pop. And then I put top coat on and I was done. Now we're moving on to one of my favorite nails that I did, which, by the way, I did rough drafts of each of these nails, which is why, before I did like my actual sizes, just to like make sure I really got it right. I mean, obviously, midnights. We don't got to talk about that one anymore. We moved past it. So with my sample that I did of Evermore, I really liked my background color that I mixed, but I wanted it slightly darker. So I didn't want it as like kind of bright red, so just like slightly darker. So I took Movie Night and Thai Tea, which is a dark red and a burnt orange, and did a little mixy mix on my little foil palette here, just for the background color. So I painted 2 coats on the nail. Now we're getting my palette ready with all these colors. So this is a dark green that's kind of sheer, and then this is like a nice kind of mustardy yellow and an off-white. And as usual, as the theme of the day is just mixing colors. And I'm also taking this small tap brush, which almost looks like a really thick brush that someone snipped the tip off of to make it like a flat kind of cylinder. I don't know, you'll see. So I wanted to make sure with plaid, it kind of gets difficult because the darker background you have, the more trouble you have with making colors pop on top of it. So I knew if I just did the yellow, it wouldn't pop as much. So I mixed the yellow with my off-white to make this kind of creamy, burnt yellow. So I took my smoosh brush, which is like the perfect width as well, to just go right across. And it was just so perfect. It popped so well. And I knew I didn't want it super opaque either. And you'll see why in a second. So I kind of like used a little bit of pressure going across to kind of make sure it was like a little bit thin, but also kind of making that line happen. I don't know, I got distracted in the middle of that sentence. So while it was wet, I took the small tap brush and I literally just blotted it, because what this does is it actually creates texture, like the plaid texture, which looks so amazing. The payoff is so amazing. I'm not going too crazy around the actual edges of the line, just because you don't want to lose the actual plaid line if you tap around too much. So kind of just stick in the middle and make sure you keep those edges kind of nice and smooth so it translates. Then I'm taking the smoosh brush again, and look how satisfying this was. I dipped it into extraterrestrial, which is a nice sheer green. And when you use pressure with the smoosh brush, it almost creates the lines for you as your outline. And then once again, once I had the lines formed, before I cured anything and while it was wet, I took the small tap brush and added the texture in the middle of those lines as well. And then our final lines are going to be much thinner, and they're going to be in the color Vintage Tea, a brand new phone. And I'm just doing almost like a little hashtag, little pound sign. Whatever you like to call it, I don't know. And again, doing the same thing. I'm doing the lines and then taking a small tap brush again and blotting out the texture and then curing after I was done. Okay, moving on to this one. So a lot of these, when I practice, I used these Pinterest mood boards, which, first of all, the Pinterest girls know how to make a mood board. I'm going to tell you that right now. The mood boards that I found for each of the Swift album was just impeccable. They were impeccable. So I was a little inspired by some of the little details in the Folklore mood board that I found, because I didn't really want to do the trees. I wasn't really in the mood to do the trees. So I also kept my palettes for some of them, just so I can remember that I did the exact same color. So I made a little gray with my black and white gel and did 2 coats of that on the background of the nail. Then I kind of liked my little wood grain looking sort of dry brush effect, so I needed a slightly darker gray, which is why I kept my palette. I was so glad. And in order to make it really like sticky of a dry brush, make sure and wipe the sticky layer off of the cured gel, and that's what really makes it just grainy like this. So I have a darker gray and I just swiped, but the more you swipe, the more you risk blending it. So just play around with it and don't over swipe, because otherwise you're going to lose that texture. Then I took my dark brown and my detailer brush and just did little stems for, I don't know, like a little ivy thing. Also, here's one of my favorite tricks. If you think one of your lines is a little too thick, just take your smoosh brush and swipe the edge of it. So like make sure the brush is clean, and then you swipe the thickness away. So it really, it's a good trick. I use it a couple times in this video. And then I cured that brown stem layer and added some leaves with extraterrestrial. And then just because I'm such a sucker for like us kind of any sort of outline, I decided to use Vintage Tea, brand new phone, and then circle not as close to the edge, like not around the edge exactly, but sort of towards the middle to kind of just give a little added detail. And here I am swiping some of the thickness away with my smoosh brush again, because it's like, why redo it when you can just swipe away your mistake? And then I added top coat and I was done with Folklore. Before we start on this one, I just wanted to show you, look what I tried to do. I tried to do the clouds, and it was a no. It was an absolute no, so I just had to show you that like rough draft. So for my little pastel tie-dye sky, I decided to put milky white in the background, and these are all the colors that I mixed. They're all linked below, but these are all the colors that I either mixed together or just added to my palette that I saved. So I mixed a lighter blue with my bright blue, I mixed a really true yellow with a pastel yellow, and after I cured the milky white as the background, I took my smoosh brush and just started blobbing these pastel colors on. And the trick with this is don't go so heavy-handed with your layers, because the more gel you have, the more annoying it is to blend and work with. And also, second tip is just to make sure that you kind of blend the colors into its kind of next door colors, just to really help with the blend process as well. I added purple in this for the first layer. I didn't need it because obviously if I just put the blue next to the pink, it makes a little bit of purple. Not that big of a deal. So this was just the first layer, and I just kind of went through after my blobbing the colors and lightly brush in between the colors to create my first foundational layer of blendedness. Then you cure that first layer once you're happy, and then move on to the second layer. Same exact process, but it's just a little better because you have that foundational layer. And while you watch that, I just wanted to show you, this is the merch I got. My best friend literally sacrificed the first 3 songs of the concert to wait in line for me to get me this sweatshirt. They only had size XL left, and it's already oversized, so that's why it looks like so big. But I really like this look, and I'm really happy with it. So just so you know, don't be heartbroken if they don't have your size, because maybe it'll look cute. Who knows? So here's what the XL of this sweatshirt looks like on me. And then anyway, we cured that second layer once we were done, and I did a little kind of a drippy graffiti heart vibe on top of it because duh. And here was the final look. And now, my favorite nail and my favorite part of the concert. I ate it up. I was going crazy. But for this nail, I did a white background. I wanted to do newspaper, not like newspaper print. I wanted just like the legit newspaper. So instead of cutting it with scissors, I ripped it, and I wanted specific letters like R, so I just did that font. Like I love, because it kind of looks like, you know what I'm saying. So I wanted that piece, and what I did is I stuck it onto the sticky layer of the gel that's already there, and while it was stuck on, I took my clear builder base and tapped around the edges and cured it immediately. Then I would stick another piece of paper on and take the same clear builder base. I'm curing in between. Like I just want to make sure that it sticks down. Like see how fast I went? I cured that like layer, that border layer, so I knew that when I encased it fully, none of the edges would pop up anymore. So I encased it in my clear builder base again and cleaned off the sticky layer and used my buffer to buff out any of the leftover, like, I don't know, pokes from the newspaper that could be sticking up and that could ruin my next part of the design, which was using this thick black art gel to draw like a kind of outline of a rose on top of the newspaper print. So that's what I did. And listen, if I were to go to the ERAS tour again, I feel like I would go as just all Reputation. It ruled, okay? I was going crazy. I mean, I danced for every song, literally. I danced to All Too Well. Everyone sat for All Too Well, and I was like, let's do this. Let's rock and roll, baby.
$19.89.
And here we are, one hand done. And listen, the only real color mixing that I did for this one is with a dark navy blue, like inky sort of lavender gray purple, and black. Only because I wanted specifically the ink to be a little bit more inky blue instead of black. Like I wanted it to look like a little Sharpie kind of bluey black. You get the idea, but I kept my palette, so I was able to really color match, so that was perfect. And the only real complicated thing that, I feel like this one was kind of all complicated, but I don't want to talk you too much through it. But basically what I did was I did a little subtle ombre in the back from baby blue to white, and I ended up doing 3 layers of it because I was just like having problems with it being like not as smooth as I wanted. Then I realized I'm putting the Polaroid drawing over it, so it's not that big of a deal. So The final thing that I want to mention is I have my little 1989 Pinterest mood board that I found, and the person who made this did like a really cute, found like a really cute seagull thing, like a really cute, I don't know, like just little, not abstract seagull, but just a line work seagull. And I was like, that's what I'm going to put inside the Polaroid. So that was the inspiration behind this nail. Couple things. I did get the 1989 announcement at my concert. Like, not to like brag or anything, but I did get that announcement.
In the 8th month of the year, which is August, on the 9th day of that 8th month, I've been planning for a really, really, really ridiculously, embarrassingly long time. And I think instead of just like telling you about it, I think I'll just sort of show you something I've been excited to show you.
And also, when you're done seeing all of the nails that I did for each era, I really want to know which nail was your favorite. So definitely comment below which nail stuck out to you the most, because I'm just so curious, you know, I'm like doing this by myself, you know, and then I'm just like so fascinated to see what stuck out to who and why. I think my favorite had to be 1989 because it's just so cute, and I just felt like the seagull aesthetic like was perfect for the new like cover art. And yeah, and also just side note, if you're new here, my name is Katie Masters. Me doing my intro 17 minutes into the video. My name is Katie Masters, also known as Nail Thoughts on Instagram and all the other social media pages. And I also have a gel line in collaboration with the Japanese gel company Cocoist. And I post a lot of videos of like me doing my clients' nails, my own nails, nail expos, yada yada yada. So if any of that interests you at all, I mean, you should definitely subscribe. Or if you like this video, just give it a little like. Hit that like button for me. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, now I guess back to the video, back to my Polaroid. We're using the inky color that we made. So this is why I wanted the inky color. I didn't want it to be like too black on black. Like I wanted the like outline, the subtle outline of the Polaroid and the handwriting on the Polaroid to be that like off white, not off white, off black color. And next up, we're almost done. I know this is a longer video than usual. I was trying to bring it down more, but I think it's just, the thing is like, I don't want to scam you out of seeing all of the details and stuff that goes into each nail, and like watch me do it so you can maybe like learn some art techniques and stuff. But for this one, I did something so interesting. It's not interesting at all. I did a layer of rose red, and then I did a layer of movie night, which is a darker red over it, just for some layer action. I just wanted a specific red, okay? And neither of them were it. So that's what was so interesting about it. I also in the background did a layer of vintage tea, that like off-white. Vintage tea, brand new phone, and then I cured all of it. And once it was cured, in my little square, I did like a kiss mark, and it was like, I just looked it up on YouTube on how to do it properly, because you kind of tend to think too hard with these kind of things. But literally you're just doing like, you just want to make sure that the top of the lips and the bottom of the lips are the darkest portion of the design, and make the like outline on the like in the middle of the kiss light, so it actually looks like there's no outline, if that makes sense. So you'll see once I'm done with these lines, I take my brush and add a little bit of darker dots and details on the bottom and the very top, so it makes the middle part look a little lighter and more like a kiss mark, more like boom, The outside was the hardest part of the kiss. I don't know, okay? That's just what I did. Then I put top coat and I was done. Easy peasy. Boom. On to the next. We're going to... Now this one was definitely inspired by a mood board. No, it wasn't a mood board. It was actually a picture of, it was in the same kind of like family as like the mood boards. It was just a picture of like a fairy tale book. Like it was really cute. Like the outside, I'll just show a picture here. I just liked that the outside was a little darker purple, the inside was lighter purple, almost just looked like kind of faded, and I liked the idea of almost like a border of roses and just kind of fairy tale looking things. So I took Space Cadet, which is a dark purple, and I faded it into Dusk, which is that lighter purple, and I cured that after I kind of did a little bit of a brush stroke. And this was key. I added an outline of Space Cadet, the darker purple, around the nail, and then took my smoosh brush and faded it and blended it inward to give it a little bit more of a seamless blend. You see what I mean? I like kind of brought it inward a little bit and created a little bit more depth, so it made it even darker on the outside and lighter on the inside. I just really liked that. I loved the way it turned out. Then I cured it and I took bubblegum, which is just, you know, your bubblegum pink. And here's where you can't think too hard, okay? I took my detailer brush and just did kind of like a loose little rose kind of action. And then I took rose red while that was still wet and blobbed it in the middle, and then I took my detailer brush and just kind of swished it back and forth, and it almost created its own little rose. You know, like from a distance, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely a flower. You can't think too hard. I mean, if you look at it like up close, you're like, what is that? It's just a bunch of like swirly lines. But from a distance, and if you add leaves, it just looks like a sweet little pinky rose. So that's what I did, and I cured that and added some white details around the side with some like swirly fairy tale Once Upon a Time vibes and some dotties, and then I was done. The last two. We're almost there. The last two I did, I had to do in my salon because I had specific supplies that I needed, like this chrome gel that I wanted and my chrome pen. So first, I did 2 layers of that pastel yellow with the chrome gel on top of it to rub my chrome, my gold chrome into, right? So we're excited. Things are happening. So while that chrome was there, I didn't encase it yet or anything, I took some of my clear builder base and my detailer brush, and this was just an experiment, but I liked the way it turned out, and just did kind of more squiggly Once Upon a Time lines. That's what they're called now. I did just some more Once Upon a Time lines all over the nails and dots too. I did little dotties in between, a little heavy-handed and then lighter-handed. I don't know. I was just like kind of messing around. And then once I was just like, I covered the whole nail with all the stuff and it looked pretty like gilded, I went ahead and cured my base coat layer. Cured that, all of those swirlies. Then once it was cured, I wiped off all that extra chrome, so then it kept all my Once Upon a Time lines. And I was like, you know what? I'm fine with it. I was having a hard time with Fearless anyway. I was like, yes, gold and like yellow, but like what? And I was fine with this. I was like, you know what? I think this will do. This will be perfect. It's kind of chromy and gilded. The camera wasn't doing it any justice, but that's okay. It was still really cute. And if anything, you got to learn a nice little chrome hack there.
Taylor Swift.
And last but not least, the debut album, my Left Hand Pinky. So I just did a little ombre with these 2 kind of bluey, kind of greenish is the top one. I don't know, but I just like love the colors of the mood board from the Pinterest things I looked up, and I was like, that needs to happen, a little ombre. And I knew I had butterfly stickers in the salon, especially blue butterflies. So to apply stickers, it's pretty easy. Just make sure I cured that underlayer and I wiped off the sticky layer of the gel. Then I did a little buff action just to make sure it was nice and matte, because a sticker needs to stick to something, you know. Sticky is not going to stick to more sticky gel, like it's just going to pop up and give you issues. So it did the same thing as my newspaper thing, where I put the sticker down and encased the edges with clear builder base, cured it, and then encased it in clear builder base and top coat, and I was done.